After targeting parents who object to a radical social justice curriculum at local school meetings, the Department of Justice has thrown all caution to the wind. With much fanfare, the DOJ announced it will be establishing a unit focused on domestic terrorism. To justify turning the full force of the government against its own citizens, Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olsen told the Senate Judiciary Committee, "We have seen a growing threat from those who are motivated by racial animus, as well as those who ascribe to extremist anti-government and anti-authority ideologies." That description sounds like the summer of 2020 to most Americans. After all, there is no definition of domestic terrorism. The only legal definition of terrorism is the one for international terrorism. It describes activities that are violent or dangerous to human life, and that are intended to intimidate or coerce civilians or influence the policy of a government. The months-long Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots that killed at least 24 people, injured thousands of law enforcement officers, and caused approximately $2 billion in covered damage seem to fit it. Those riots tried to destroy the federal court in Portland, threatened to kill Mayor Ted Wheeler, forcing him to move, and took over a section of the city of Seattle. The mobs burned businesses and police precincts to the ground, and at its most threatening, breached the police line on the White House lawn, forcing President Trump to go to a secure area at the behest of the Secret Service. The chaos led directly to an increase in violent crime nationwide. The self-described aims of these groups were political, from defunding the police to inserting an equity agenda into every area of government. Of course, these are not the domestic terrorists that concern the DOJ. At least for now, the far-left rioters support the Biden regime. Their national temper tantrum seemed to end as soon as it appeared Joe Biden won the election. That is a coincidence very few commentators point out. Instead, the DOJ and the administration point to January 6, when a few hundred Americans entered the Capitol to object to the certification of the 2020 election. Law enforcement quashed the riot in a few hours, and Mitch McConnell convened the Senate to certify the election. The DOJ's announcement came during the same hearing where top officials would not answer questions about whether FBI agents or informants were involved in the events of January 6. The January 6 committee is reporting that they spoke with Ray Epps, who encouraged people to enter the Capitol on January 6, and was present and whispered to the person who took down the first police barricade. However, they refused to release the November transcript. The Whitmer kidnapping case demonstrates in real time just how far the FBI will go to create a narrative. But Americans are supposed to harbor no suspicions about January 6. Another bombshell dropped regarding the letter from the National School Board Association used by Attorney General Merrick Garland to involve the DOJ and FBI in local school board meetings. Fox News reports memos showing that Department of Education Secretary Miguel Cardona solicited the much-criticized letter. In short, it feels like the justification the DOJ is relying on to turn the intelligence tools reserved for foreign terrorists on Americans is all kabuki theater. It also feels like only those who oppose the ruling class agenda need to worry about the threat from our own DOJ. President Joe Biden reinforced this idea Tuesday at a speech in Georgia. While encouraging Senate Democrats to blow up the filibuster to pass the federal takeover of elections, he suggested that anyone opposed to that agenda stands with Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederacy. To rational people, that statement is insane. But the leader of the executive branch said it. Americans are not oblivious to the politicization of federal law enforcement. The agency has a net approval rating of -11, according to Rasmussen. A new national telephone and online survey by Rasmussen reports finds that 46% of likely U.S. voters have a favorable impression of the FBI, including 15% who have a very favorable view of the agency. That's down from May 2020, when 60% had a favorable impression of the FBI. 47% now view the FBI unfavorably, including 26% who have a very unfavorable impression. A plurality, 46%, agrees with Roger Stone's statement that a group of politicized thugs at the top of the FBI who are using the FBI as Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. Only 38% disagree. Additionally, 50% believe the president influences FBI Director Christopher Wray in his decision-making. Only 30% reported having a favorable view of Attorney General Merrick Garland in October 2021 following his memo instructing the FBI to investigate parents involved in school board protests. Meanwhile, the Taliban threatened to send 2,000 suicide bombers to Washington, D.C. if the U.S. posts soldiers at the embassy in Kabul. The Iranian president also threatened Muslims will take their martyrs' revenge unless President Trump and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are put on trial for the death of General Qasem Soleimani. These warnings are issued while the nation has a wide-open southern border and thousands of unvetted Afghan refugees inside the country. Putin is likely to invade Ukraine and China is saber-rattling over Taiwan. But January 6th is supposed to terrify you. It is unclear how an agency with declining credibility deploys a program that targets Americans' family members and neighbors for wrong thinking. It is even less clear that the administration understands that their policies and leaders are deeply unpopular with most Americans. As the average family pays an average of almost $4,300 in increased expenses, deals with rising crime rates, and feels less secure from international threats, most aren't looking to inform Joe Biden's brownshirts.